and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about God's judgment. I just want you guys to know that there are many ways that God judges, okay? However, this is like one of the ways that he judges, and I think we can apply this judgment to our life and every ramification of our lives as well. So I'm going to be going back to the book of Genesis. So Genesis chapter 3 from verse 13 to 17. Genesis chapter 3 from verse 13 to 17. Now, in the case of this judgment, we have Adam, we have Eve, and we have the serpent. Now, we have the deceiver, which is the serpent. We have the deceived, which is Eve. And then we have the partaker, which is Adam, right? So, Satan deceived Eve to eat the apple. Eve ate the apple. But Adam did not rebuke his wife. Rather, he partook in the sin. Now, you can also, like I said, you can apply this in every aspect of your life. Like, God is a very righteous and just God. Just means he is fair and he brings justice to everyone, literally. So, let's say, for instance, if I dress, let's say, like I said, you can apply this example to all ramifications of your life, but I'm just going to pick like few examples to like clarify this judgment. So let's say, for instance, I dress inappropriately, right? And even though, some people they'll be like, oh, God looks at the heart, God looks at this, that, and whatnot, right? So if I dress inappropriately and I go out there and somebody looks at me lustfully, right? Like in Matthew chapter 5, verse 28, God says, if you look at a woman lustfully, you have committed adultery, right? And so a guy looks at me lustfully. So if God is judging that guy, do you think he's going to spare me? He's not going to spare me because I was the one that tempted him. I was the one that led him to look at me lustfully. So this judgment is for everyone. It's not just one-sided. And it just means that we are responsible for each other, basically. Like, don't ever think that people are not your responsibility. No. And we are each other's brothers and sisters keeper, right? So always have in mind that it's not just all about you, but also you and your neighbors as well. Just as Jesus has commanded us in Matthew chapter 22, verse 39. He says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So whatever thing that you're doing in this life, always consider other people as well. This is not to say that you should share their burden, or this is not to say you should become too obsessed with them. No, this is to say that you should be aware of your neighbor and also be in a place of consideration. Consider other people's purity, Just make sure that you are not the one that leads people to sin, basically. Like, we are all here to help each other, right? The gift that God has gifted us is to use it to help each other. So be the one to help people to stray away from sin, not to partake in sin, right? Again, we have the deceiver, we have the deceived, and we have the partaker of sin. And in Leviticus chapter 19 verse 17, God has told us, do not share the guilt of sin. You are allowed to rebuke people. So when you see that somebody is doing something right, please go ahead and correct them. Correct them nicely in a respectful way, okay? And if they don't want to listen, you can rebuke them because God has given us that authority to rebuke. Do not partake in sin. Always consider other people. Consider other people's purity. Consider them. Don't always, like, love is not about selfishness, okay? Love is not about selfishness. Love is also considering other people, right? It's not just about yourself. It says love yourself as you love your neighbor. But in order for you to love yourself, you have to love God first, right? God comes first, because without the love of God, you cannot love yourself, and therefore you cannot love your neighbor, right? Like, love comes in orderly form. Like, if you read 2 Peter chapter 1 from verse 5 to 7, he says, love starts with the knowledge of God, starts with the wisdom of God, starts with God himself. Then it goes down to yourself, which brings like sort of mutual affection. And from that, it goes down to your neighbor. So there has to be some sort of mutual affection between yourself and your neighbor. But a healthy one, please. This is not for you to go and be lusting after people. That is not what it means. means. It just means that two has to come to agreement. And it also means that you have to consider, you have to love your neighbor as you love yourself. The same way you wouldn't want people to drag you into sin. Please do not go and drag other people into sin. That is what it means. Always consider people, okay? Be very mindful of the things that you do in life in general. Be very mindful of the things that you do in society. Be very mindful of everything that you do, because it's not just about you, it's also about people, other people as well. Being considerate is part of our worship to God. Selfishness is not part of our worship to God. Love is part of our worship to God. So in whatever thing that you're doing in this life, always consider people, okay? And like I said, when God judges, you will be held responsible. He's not going to look at, oh, this one has been righteous or whatnot and whatnot. He's also going to look at the way you treat other people. The way you treat other people determines how much you love God. Because if you love God, you're going to love your neighbors as well. And you're going to be very considerate of them. You're going to be so mindful of them. You're going to be in a position to not lead them into sin, basically. Always try to guide your people through the path of righteousness, just the way Jesus Christ guided us through the path of righteousness. You always have to be in that position. We are all responsible for each other. Okay, we are all responsible for each other. The same way Jesus guided us through the path of righteousness, that is how you are to guide anybody that comes into your life or everyone around you through the path of righteousness. Be responsible for each other. Thank you so much. I just thought I was going to bring this example towards you. Like, I found this so profound, and I was like, I'm going to share this with you guys, and hopefully it's going to help you. Be considerate. Remember, God judges everyone. It's not just one people. Everybody is going to face judgment. So please always keep in mind that you are your brother's keeper. You are your neighbor's keeper. Be considerate of other people. Whatever thing that you're doing, consider other people's purity. Consider them too as well, okay? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Bye and ciao. I'll see you guys in my next conversation.